Good morning, Teenies. Today, we are making meat samosas. Our ingredients include 1 pound of ground beef, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 3 cloves of garlic, 2 bay leaves, 1½ teaspoons of salt, 1½ teaspoons red chili powder, half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, 2 small serranos, 1½ teaspoons of cumin powder, 1½ teaspoons of coriander powder, 2 teaspoons of dry fenugreek leaves, egg roll wrappers, and some cilantro. Since we have peas available from the garden, we are going to put in half a cup of peas. We also need 1 medium onion and half a teaspoon of clove powder and 1 tablespoon of cumin seeds. These are optional. Now that we have all our ingredients prepped, we have chopped the onions and the garlic and serranos, we can start cooking. I'm going to start off by adding some ghee to the pan, and it's set on medium. Guess I should turn that on. And that is about a tablespoon of ghee. And we're also going to add in some cumin seeds, which I forgot to mention earlier. These are optional. We're going to let the oil come up to temperature, and we're going to use about a teaspoon of the cumin. Get our teaspoon of the cumin seeds, and once they start to splatter, we are ready to add in our onions. And hopefully you can see that there's a slight sizzle. There we go. And there's a very slight splatter. So I am going to add in our onions, and these are the Egyptian walking onions from the garden. Just use whatever onions you have in this dish, but these are the onions I have, so that's what I'm using. And we're going to let these onions cook until they're nice and soft and starting to brown. Let's get that turned on. That gives us better sound. Okay, I'm going to add a pinch of salt so the onions can sweat. I do have some salt right there. I am going to go ahead and add in the bay leaves. I'm going to cover them slightly with the onions for about 2 minutes. And the onions are getting to the point where they're nice and soft. We're just waiting for them to become translucent, and then we'll be ready for the garlic and serranos. Okay, so we are ready for the next step, and as you can see, the onions have started browning, so we're ready to put in our serrano and garlic mix, and we're going to stir this in for about a minute. Oh wow, I wish you could smell that. Yeah, so those serranos and the garlic are from our garden. That smells really good. It's just something different about fresh garlic. And we're going to cook this for about 2 minutes, or until you can no longer smell that raw garlic smell. And that feels about right. Next, we're going to put in our spices. And you want your spices to cook in the oil so it releases the flavors. And we're only going to do this for about a minute. Oh, that smells so good. And you want to see that sizzle on the bottom. because that way you know that your spices are cooking in that oil and the flavors are getting released. But at the same time, you do not want your spices to burn. And by now, your bay leaf should be nice and soft. Let me see if I can pick this one up. Make sure your hands are clean. See, it's nice and soft now, not brittle like when we put it in. So that's good. And now we are ready for the next step, and that is our meat. And that's the ground beef that I'm using. And we have 2 pounds of the ground beef. I'm going to use this to break that down. And we want this to cook about 75% of the way. That has broken down nicely. And I'm going to lower that heat slightly. So you should be cooking this on about medium low, because we also would like that meat to release a little bit of the liquid. We don't want it to be dry. Oh, making a mess. Get those spices nicely mixed in. You want to make sure each bite you take has those flavors. That is beautiful. There we go. You can hear the sizzle. The meat is releasing the liquid. Trying to get all those spices off of the bay leaf into the meat. So once this is nicely cooked, we are going to add in our peas. But the peas are optional. If you do not want them, you don't have to put them in. Get those bay leaves buried in there. All right, our meat is just about done. So I'm going to put in the peas. Oh, and I should mention, if you want to add a few potato pieces, you can do that. Boil your potato, and once it's done, cut it into little bite-sized pieces and add it in when you add in your peas, or if you're using a different veggie, add them in at the same time. So we're going to let this cook for about another minute, because my peas were slightly frozen, but you don't want to overcook them because they're going to go into the samosa and we'll be cooking the samosa. We are just about done. I need to taste that meat. That is good. I might need a little more salt. I don't know, it could be a little more spicy too. The dish was not as spicy as I would like, and this is another good reason why you should taste your food. So I have gone ahead and I have chopped one more serrano, and this time I've done a full-sized one because it appears that the serrano I have is not very spicy. And we're going to mix that in. Turn the stove back on. Let this cook for about a minute, and let's taste it again. And now that I'm looking at that dish, I feel like I should add a pop of color. And I have some carrots that are already in the jar, which we put in the jar together sometime during the winter. And I might just put in 1 or 2 in there. No, I'm going to think about it. Let's do one more taste. Get a new spoon. Much better. Much better. Oh yeah, much better. And I forgot to mention, once everything is ready, add in a teaspoon of Garam Masala if you have it. So I'm going to stir that in and give it one more taste. All right, so at this point we can turn this off, and we are now ready to get our cilantro in there. And I'm going to get the leaves in. I'm going to avoid getting any sticks in there. I don't like this, if the sticks, even the delicate ones in my samosa. So this is going to take me a minute to go through. So I'll be right back when I'm done getting the cilantro in there. We have our cilantro in there. I'm going to mix it in, and as you're mixing it in, find your bay leaf, and it's time to fish it out. We had 4, so I'm going to make sure I get all 4 out. That's 2, 3, and there's a 4th one. Perfect. Yeah, see, I got a stick in there. Get that stick out. And at this point, we should be ready for the next step. And before I do that, I am going to taste this one more time and make sure I don't need to add anything else. Let's get a new spoon. Should we get a little bit of everything in that bite? That's good. That's really good. Ooh, spicy. That is really good. Okay, so I'm going to let this cool off while I prep my space so we can start making the samosa. And I'll get the wraps out, get all that ready, and then I'll bring you right back. So we are just about ready for the next step. And so Roger has had a bite and he agrees with me that I should add just a little bit of carrot. I won't put in the whole thing, but it's nice and spicy and we want just a little bit of sweet. And if you don't have carrots, you can also use raisins. Some people put in raisins. I'm going to be using carrots and I'm just going to sprinkle in a few so we have a little bit of sweet in like every other bite. So that's an 8-ounce jar and I'm putting in like 4 ounces of carrot. There we go. I am happy with that. All right, we are ready for the next step, and that is wrapping the meat into our egg roll. I need a scissor for this, and you can make your own wrap. I'm using this to make life easier for any beginners that are going to be watching this. And maybe in the next video when I do the potato samosas, I will show you how to make your own wrap. We're going to put that aside. Make sure you're getting one. And you need some water and a knife. All right, we're going to cut this into half. Put 1/2 aside. All right, at some point, the camera died and I did not notice. And that's how far I have gone. So I'm going to illustrate this one more time just to make sure that you get to see what I'm doing. So we've taken our dough, we've cut it in half. Let me start here. So we've started off with a full-size wrap and I cut it in half. So here's the first half, and what we need to do is you're going to take this end and you're going to bring it to this other side, so all the way until that tip touches that end right there. And if you want to extend it just a little bit further, that's all right. So we have our first fold, and then we're going to take this side, and I should get liquid on this side. So we're going to take this end and we're going to go just like that, and we're left with this little tip over here, which we are going to flip over like that. And then we have our opening up here. There's our little opening. We are going to get our meat in there. Make sure you get your meat to the bottom. Have space for a little more. Just like that. And then we're going to wet the wrap all the way around. I'll get my fork here. Get the meat out of the way. And then we're going to push that wrap in just like that, so it's touching the other wrap. Then you're going to take this top part and just flip it closed just like that. And if you end up with the tip over here, if you want to, you can either cut off that little tip or you can just fold it over just like that. And I'll show you that one more time. And remember, this doesn't need to be perfect. So we have our wrap here. We're going to take this end, we're going to bring it all the way over and fold just like that. You're going to get some liquid. Make sure that is nice and wet. Then you're going to lift this, and we're going to go all the way. And you're going to end up with that little tip right there, which is going to fold over, just like that. And I realize there's a lot of ways to fold a samosa. I find this to be the easiest one if you're a beginner. So let's get our meat in there. Make sure you get it in and leave just enough space at the top. And make sure you have it all the way in. And if you have too much, just take it out. Because you want to make sure this edge seals. So get the liquid right there, all the way around, and then push and make sure that it's touching the other end. And then you can take that and flip that over. And you can either cut off that edge or you can just fold it over. And there's your samosa. Now I'll do this one more time. Going to take that edge, bring it all the way over, and you notice it overlaps like that. So bring it all the way over and then wet that end of it. Flip, just like that. And there you go. I think I made that one folded too far, but that's okay. Again, this is not about being perfect. It will taste just yummy, whether you get it perfect or not. Get that in there. Get your liquid in there. And another thing, also notice I can turn that to be in the perfect position where I want it. And don't get your dough too wet, because also that will happen if you manipulate it too much. So we're going to push those ends together. Remember, we have that wet end, and we're just going to fold that over. And there's your samosa. I've kind of messed up on that one, but that's okay. Just going to take one of these ones that we had cut earlier, and I can do a repair job right there. Obviously, don't make that mess like I did. And it's still a perfect samosa. So let's do this last one, and we should be ready to go to the stove and fry what we have. And I'm going to put the rest of it away for another day. So one more time, I'm going to take this and bring it all the way to that end right there. Just like that. Get liquid on this end. And then we're going to fold that just like that. Pick it up. Oh, have some cilantro there. And we're going to open that right up just like that. And notice this end over here, as I pick this up, that gets into place just like that. Get our meat in there. Make sure you get it all the way to the bottom. Make sure it's not in the way. So don't overstuff it. Get the water all the way around. And you notice those are not, that's not perfect right there. That's all right. So we're just going to push those ends. I might have overstuffed it while I tell you not to overstuff. Push that in and fold. And that's it. So the next time we make the samosas, I'll show you a different way of folding. So you can either have it folded like that, or you can have it folded like that. Okay. So I am going to put the rest of that meat away. We still have lots left. And then this is what we're going to be cooking. I don't know what my camera is doing. Right there. So that's what we're going to be cooking. So once I get the meat put away, still a lot of meat, I'll come right back and I will meet you at the stove. All right, so whatever egg roll wrap you have left, make sure you wrap it properly so it doesn't dry out. And I'm going to be using this in the next few days. So I'm just going to close that, put one more wrap on top and put it in the refrigerator. And you can see the one that we left sitting out is already drying out. Wrap it nicely, protect it. All right, our meat is in the bag. It is vacuum sealed and it is labeled. So I'm going to clean up my mess over here and then I will meet you at the stove. All right, I have cleaned up the mess and we are ready to start cooking. So we have our oil going and we have it set on medium. And so we don't want the oil to get way too hot. And the way to tell whether your oil is ready, or one of the ways, is you can use a toothpick and hopefully you can see that. Right, it's not ready yet. So once it is ready and we put our toothpick in there, you should start seeing bubbles around the toothpick. And another way is to just dip the edge of your samosa. Actually, that is ready. I don't know if you can see that. The oil is sizzling there. The oil is sizzling around the samosa. So I'm going to get a few in there. Yeah, you just want a slow sizzle. You can get one more in there. And whenever possible, get the seam side down to start with. And I noticed that I didn't do that for the first few. And depending on how much oil you have in your pan, if it's completely immersed, it's going to be about 6 to 8 minutes. And because mine is not completely immersed, after about 4 minutes, I'm going to flip it over for it to cook on the other side. And we're just looking for a golden brown. And also cooking at this, instead of making it really, really hot, allows the filling to also finish cooking. All right, see that? It just needs about another minute and I should be ready to flip. And what I've done, the dish where I'm going to be putting the samosas into, you probably cannot see that. I'll show you that later. I lined it with some paper towels so it can soak up the excess oil. See if I can show you that. Right there. Yeah, I'm trying not to move the camera too much because it's on the charger right now. That is perfect. That's exactly what we are looking for. If it starts sizzling too hard, you can turn down your heat slightly. They're actually looking darker on the screen than they actually are. So we're just going for a golden brown. We do not want to overcook them. Just about 1 more minute on that one. So that first batch is done. Get this one flipped. And that's what we are looking for. We just want it to be golden brown. And once you flip it, it just takes about a minute or two. The batch is done. Not very steady. I'm using my cell phone because my camera powered off. It's not charging fast enough. Alright, we're on to the last batch. Oops. All right, last one.
Hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. All the good times just begun.
That's it. Bon appetit. Bye everyone.
We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life.